For those of you who are listening right now and are looking for us to come up with this like really fun way to lose weight, you might as well go do something else.
Let's be honest here. And everyone just get the mirror out and just take a little peek.
Yep.
You can get your phone, put it on the other way. It's not a lack of information that is stopping you from achieving that goal.
It's just you don't want to do it because it's not fun. Welcome everyone to another episode of Coaches on Couches,
Being slouches.
On a little mini couch.
Tiny couch.
The couches keep getting smaller. We keep getting closer together. But the content, still awesome.
We hope.
So, it's been a minute for those of us, or for those of you who are regular listeners.
Yeah, we love you.
We lost all of you. but
they're alive. Sign of life.
Yeah. We're back, you're back. Let's do it. It is presently January, and everyone knows what that means, is that everyone is making resolutions.
I resolve to eat better.
It's pretty much the one, especially for endurance athletes. No one's like, I resolve to do more training.
I need to fuel up more before, during, and after workouts to make sure.
That's not usually the hard part.
No.
We just constantly field questions about nutrition, and more specifically, obviously, on like losing weight. People like, they say, I want to eat better, but it's more like because I want to lose weight.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about losing weight today.
That's the goal.
And for those of you who are, if it's still January and you're still kind of in the off season, this is realistically the best time to do it.
100%.
To get there, to get to your ideal, whatever, race weight, whatever that is for you, now's the time.
Yes. Because you want to save, you don't want to be trying to reduce calories, really get fine-tuned, dial things in when you're trying to fuel your body to perform at a high level and to recover from those higher intensity, higher volume, higher stress workout sessions. So now is the time, obviously, to try to get rid of that stubborn midsection.
When the training gets really hard and really specific, that's when you really want to be fueled up.
Yes.
So now is the time. Here's the thing. For those of you who are listening right now and are looking for us to come up with this like really fun way to lose weight, you might as well go do something else.
Let's be honest here. And everyone just get the mirror out and just take a little peek.
Yep.
You can get your phone, put it on the other way. It's not a lack of information that is stopping you from achieving that goal.
In a world of influencers and social media pros and gurus and research this, and you can learn anything you want at any point, some good, some bad, some bullshit. I mean, there's so much crap. It's not a lack of information. It's just you don't want to do it because it's not fun.
Yeah, it's the action.
It's not comfortable.
The problem is in the action, and I think one of the hard things is food is something you have to survive. So it's a constant thing that can be going on in your brain. And we actually joked about this, was it last week? A couple of weeks ago. We were joking about, we just got done with the holidays, and it's been Halloween, and then it went into Thanksgiving, and then we had Christmas, and then we're about to have Valentine's Day. There's just like sweets abound. Then we got Easter candy.
There's sweets for everything.
So there's like sweets and crap and cookies and all this stuff that's been around. The environment we're in is filled with bad stuff.
Celebratory. Everything, we're celebrating everything. And that, for most people, that's like, it's a holiday. I can eat like crap.
Mm-hmm. I'll get at it tomorrow I can indulge today or this week or this month between like, okay, I'm starting in Thanksgiving. I'm going to indulge just until the new year, but then I'm going to get serious.
Real serious.
And my habits are going to change. It's going to be easy because I'm going to be motivated. Motivation goes away. And then we're left with the same old story, right? It's all on repeat. So
that's why the gyms are like super full, through like February, and then you'll get your normal gym back. Motivation is super, super high in the early part of the year, and then it just kind of wanes because making a habit of anything is really tough and a lot of times not fun at all. So once again, if you're here to lose weight, be prepared to do a lot of stuff that you don't want to do and that may not mesh well with what your family's doing, your friends are doing. Just get ready.
Exactly. And if this isn't the quick fix thing you're after, very few things in life that are worth striving towards are easy and accomplished in one day. It takes that discipline and that dedication. But we were joking the other day, and how many of you at home, this is like a little test, how many of you listening to this, when you have that one thing, it may be that one sweet or dessert or whatever it is that
Reese's
you like.
Peanut Butter Cups.
For Coach Dale, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. For me, it's the Starburst Jelly Beans. When those are in the house. But how many of you know that they're in the house and they like call your name?
It's like a siren.
You're like, I know you're down there in that freezer, that Reese's Peanut Butter Cup getting nice and chilled.
Kids are asleep.
Dale, eat me.
Or they're just like conveniently placed everywhere in your home.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and
or
you know it's
office.
there. And so eventually, when it's just calling your name, we got that voice in your ear nonstop. What do you end up doing?
Oh, I crumple like a cheap suit.
And then the justification in your head, and I guarantee you, pretty much all of you, your justification is,
I'm going to work it off tomorrow.
I'm very fiscally responsible. I don't want to waste hard-earned money that's been spent on said treats. So I'm going to eat them. I'm going to make sure they're not in the house anymore because I'm going to eat all. And then I'm dialing it in. So you're changing your environment. You know that that's the step that needs to be taken. You need them out of the house. The means for which you're doing so, eating it all, not the best. Better off just throwing them away. But the huge key here is, and we're going to go into like 3 different steps you can take on how to actually hopefully make getting to your ideal body composition, the spot you feel good at, actually getting you there. There's 3 different ways that you can do that. But one of those is controlling your environment by getting rid of that food or foods that you know you're going to overindulge on.
If we're obviously talking about creating the habit of eating healthy, eating better. The problem for 99% is consumption. It's an energy imbalance. We're eating way more than we're burning, and even as athletes, we're burning a ton for the most part, different times of the year, but we don't seem to change our eating habits for time of the year or anything really. We just keep eating because we think we're doing everything right, and but we can't seem to get to the body composition that we want, and that's a whole nother topic of like what is ideal for you. But
correct,
it seems to be increasingly difficult for a lot of endurance athletes to get anywhere near what they want to be or what they say they want to be. And the number one thing you can do to start to achieve those goals and create that habit is to curate your own environment, meaning don't keep the crap in the house. Whoever does the grocery shopping, have the heart-to-heart. Like if it's not you, sit them down. Sit them down. Because not only is it going to be good for you, it's going to be good for your family. So let's, just have the heart-to-heart and say, hey, babe, can you please please don't bring the Reese's in the house anymore.
Or if so, don't let me know they're in the house, because they know my name and they will call me at all times of day and night. They will call me. So if you could either keep them out of view, I need to have no knowledge of them. That can be super beneficial. Now, we can go into this whole your relationship with your foods. Moderation. If you're a moderation person, big ups to you. Personally, I am not a moderation person. I'm not someone that can okay, I'm just gonna have a tiny bit of it, and that's gonna quench my desire, quench my need for it. I'm this is full gas. I'm all in.
I'm Frank the Tank when it comes to.
We're going streaking, baby. We are going streaking.
Yeah, to give some context and not to throw personal experience into this, but I have no self-control when it comes to sweets, most junk food, really. So my number one way to prevent myself from eating it is to not have it anywhere near me. Don't get me wrong. I do eat it from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it. But if it's anywhere in the vicinity and I know it's there and it's easy to get to, then I'm going to eat it.
And this is the other part of it. That thing that you desire is generally the easiest and the quickest to get in as well. It's not like making a healthy meal. So if you have these urges, you're hungry, you have this urge. A lot of folks are working from home these days. You go down, you stand in front of the pantry, and you're like, okay, what's something quick and easy so I can get back to doing the thing I was doing? In general, it's not the healthy stuff. And so you end up taking the crappy stuff. That's because it's there and it's available and it's quick and it's going to serve that momentary satisfaction. But that's the point in time that I want you thinking about your longer term goals. So for me personally, when those urges are hitting, number one, if you can just distract yourself, that's always huge. Change your focus. If it's not even there, that's super easy. But number three, is that momentary satisfaction of eating that thing you want going to lead you closer or further away from your goals? And how are you going to feel an hour later? And how are you going to feel the next morning and a few days down the road? Do you get more up, more mentally stimulated, more positive? Are you trending towards the better person by resisting it in that moment? Is that worth it versus that momentary satisfaction? So
there is a lot of good science in how your body produces dopamine and epinephrine and all that stuff. And for most people, you get the bigger hit of dopamine thinking about getting that treat versus actually when you ingest it or consume it. So, try to make it make it a challenge, make it a game that, every time you resist that, make a little, a checkboard. Every time you resisted eating some candy or junk food, get a checkboard that you can see visually, and just show yourself how many times you avoided that pitfall. In curating your own environment, one part of that is kind of like what you said, is making a good decision easier.
Correct.
So not only making bad decisions, make bad decisions really hard to make or hard to achieve, and then make good decisions really easy to achieve. So I know Bryant is a salad maniac, and for the most part, the thing that I hear him complain about the most is how long it takes him to chop up veggies and make a salad, because his salads are the size of a giant mixing bowl.
That's true.
So making that decision much easier, you pre-chop it. Chop enough for 3 days or whatever, a week. Meal prepping is incredibly helpful. That's why people do it.
Oh, exactly. If you look at the bodybuilders that get down to super low, not that this is the healthiest of things,
it is
but
not.
when they get to this super low body fat percentage, what they are doing is meal prepping, and they are just eating what they have prepped out. They know what they need to achieve the result that they want, and they stay within that. They have the discipline to stay within that, and they've made it super easy to do so. Going out and getting your candy or your peanut butter cups or whatever it may be, chips and salsa is my Achilles heel. I'll eat a whole bag of chips. I save that for just when I go eat Mexican food these days. That's like
after podcasting.
After this podcast. Full disclosure. That's
do
why
as
we're
we say, not as we
so
do.
we can get Mexican food. But if chips and salsa are in my house, I'm going to gravitate towards that. Especially if it's, been a longer day or whatever. It's quick, it's easy, I like it, and it's like my little reward. But longer term, that's not a reward at all. If you have the good option that's super easy, and chips you have to go and drive to get, or whatever your thing is, then that's the hard choice. And odds are, by the time you fill yourself up, you're going to be fine. So that's step one, right?
I like every time I make the bad choice, it's like immediate regret. Mm-hmm. Like I got such a hit of dopamine thinking about those things and listening to that sweet song, listening to them call my name.
You want to eat me.
And I did. and then the doom and gloom sets in and I'm just like depressed, and now I have to I just ate whatever, how much sugar I just consumed. Now I'm going to go to bed. My body's going to store it all. The science brain kicks in and it's bad news. So if you making bad decisions hard and make good decisions easy, partially by curating your environment, it's going to be so much easier for you.
Another tip I've been giving recently. So if you do have a sweet tooth and you're someone who, if you deprive yourself for too long, you're going to end up like going crazy and really binging and falling down like this big hole. If that's how you are, one thing I have suggested for certain athletes, and I'll do this sometimes myself, is when you are exercising, your body is needing sugars to keep going. So it's not needing it necessarily. We won't dive into all that. However, your body is able to burn through and utilize.
It really likes
the sugar. Exactly. So it gets into the bloodstream quicker and your body can burn it off. So if you are someone who needs to have that desire filled, utilizing it during exercise can be a good option for you. Now, eating quarts of ice cream while you're trying to ride your bike could be challenging.
It's not, in fact. I'm just kidding.
But a little baggie full of Starburst jelly beans, that definitely has fueled some rides for myself in the springtime. So environment, choosing items that you are currently overeating on and getting rid of those can be an immediate drop in your caloric intake and get you back to that healthy weight loss number.
Yeah, so let's jump to the kind of three main methods of losing weight, essentially. One of which is pretty much what we're talking about inevitably, which is calorie restriction. And let's just go ahead and say that the goal is not to run major calorie deficits every day, especially if you're doing other endurance-based exercise.
Yep.
You don't want to run monster deficits. We're talking like 250 to 500 calories a day, if you're looking to lose weight. But calorie restriction is probably the one that everyone is most familiar with.
So just not eating as much.
Yeah. And so however that pans out for you, that is a great option. The other option is dietary restrictions. Ultimately, all of these make you eat less.
That's the whole point. Getting to lower amounts of calories consumed.
Once again, it's not for a lot of people, especially endurance athletes, we tend to gravitate toward a little bit healthier foods than the average population. Some don't, but it's a matter of just cutting the calories back in different ways. So calorie restriction or dietary restriction. Some people, Bryant eats is a vegan and doesn't eat meat or dairy. I am not. We both, turns out, have very similar body composition that we found out yesterday during a DEXA scan.
DEXA scan, yep.
So you can achieve both. You can achieve a good body composition on any diet, as long as it's something you can sustain long term, and doesn't have you overeating. The last one has become more of a buzzword in the last, 4 or 5 years, which is time restriction, or some people just refer to it as intermittent fasting. I just call it skipping breakfast. So
again, all of these are designed to limit the amount of food that's going into your body. So for you, just analyze, what type of person are you? Are you a moderator? Okay, you're fine with eating throughout the day in lower amounts if that's what you need. Are you someone who needs a very strict diet to prevent you from eating some of the crap that you may be eating otherwise? Great. Like, let's look at some of those options. Or are you someone who is going to be best served because you can't control how much you're going to eat at any one time? Are you best served to limit the amount of time you give yourself to eat? And that would be more of your intermittent fasting, I can only eat within a certain time window.
Yeah, and all methods work. I think the hard part, if you're just sticking to calorie restriction for most people, is that it doesn't necessarily lend itself for you changing what you're eating a lot. You just you think you're eating less unless you track all of your calories and your consumption. And generally speaking, tracking alone will help you lose weight.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, the first thing so we are not registered dietitian nutritionists. So take what we say with a grain of salt, but we've been at this for a while. And our first thing when anyone asks for assistance in changing their daily nutrition, we're like, okay, log your food for a week and log everything you put in your face for a week. And we'll see what we can, adjust. And realistically, we are all about making small adjustments, small changes that, when done daily, make big differences. So generally speaking, a day of logging your food will show you exactly where the low-hanging fruit is.
Oh yeah, so many people don't realize that they are eating as much as they are.
Right.
Which is a huge part of it. Like annually, every probably 4 months or so, I'm like, okay, I've sort of forgotten about the previous time I've logged my food.
Yep.
And I'll get specific with it. Like I do the scale and I'll weigh it out and I'll do it for like a day of normal eating. I don't adjust it. I'm going to eat like I normally would. And I find myself pretty shocked at, just for me, it's portion sizes getting bigger. It's not like I'm changing what I'm eating a ton, but my portion sizes slowly get larger and larger. Instead of one serving at night, I'm going with 2 servings at night. Instead of a cup of oatmeal at breakfast, I'm a cup and a half with some peanut butter, with some nuts, and soon the caloric intake's huge. So just awareness is massive. Even just taking a picture, if you're someone like, I'm not going to take the time to do that. You guys, most people listen to us are time crunched athletes. Take a picture of it. There's stuff you forget you're eating.
Yep.
That handful of mixed nuts that's just so easy to get a hold of, a lot of calories right there. Not that it's unhealthy, but if you're consuming a massive amount of calories, unless you're burning a massive amount of calories, you're going to be gaining weight, or you're going to stay the same. You're not going to achieve that weight loss goal that you may have.
Yeah, I have a rude awakening for those of you who are grazers. Stop. I've had so many people who are like, well, I don't really eat big meals or anything like that. I just kind of I eat when I'm hungry, and then all right, track your food. And lo and behold, I mean, you're just constantly battering your blood sugar with food and carbs and it's just all day long. Your body never has a chance to stop digesting and stop, combating high blood sugar and stuff like that. So give it a rest. Like meal times are great. Like having set meal times and nutrition timing is huge, but man, if you're just constantly throwing food at your body, you're going to have a really hard time dropping any weight.
Oh, for sure. So like really quick, something that we could just sort of give a little bit of personal experience. I know that's valuable for some folks. This time of year, I've come through a lower volume, don't train a ton between mid-October, I guess, and start firing it back up beginning
What's
of
What's
December.
a ton? Give them an idea of what a ton is.
So
for you.
Usually, I mean, I'm a person who does probably 10 to 12 hours on average. If I'm getting my long rides in on the weekend or my long ride, it's probably about 10-ish, 10 to 12 hours. From October, after Ride to Rosemary that we do, up until the start of our House of Pain, I'm cutting that in half, maybe even less, because I'm not doing as many long rides. Typically, the holidays I don't train. There's some weeks where I'm just getting a couple, like 2 1-hour rides in, sort of thing, and getting a little bit of strength training in. So it's a much lower volume time of year for me. So when I want to get back to race weight, my ideal race weight, which for me, I'm not having to go nuts and like go to bed hungry. If I'm around like 185-ish. Like right now I'm a hair over 190. I can get up to close to 200 if I'm not like paying attention to stuff, and my volume, if I'm eating the same as I was during the middle of summer and my volume's cut down below 5 hours, I'll hop on the scale and see 198, which is that's a big swing in weight, right? It's not healthy.
And by the way, we are as affected by this stuff as anyone else here. Like
100%.
Just because we've been at this a long time and we know what we're doing. I mean, anytime I get on the scale and I see a number way higher than I'm used to, I freak out.
Oh yeah. Well, it goes back to that. Like we know what we're doing. That's the information. We know the information. It's the action that's hard. So action is where results happen. Intentions, I think you had a little Post-it quote thing on it. Intentions do no good for anyone. It's the action that actually gets results. We can think about doing a lot of stuff. We can think about saying, I tell my wife, like, I thought about helping with the laundry. Like, I really did. I was going to do it. If I don't do it, it doesn't matter, right? Like, so actions and intentions are totally different. But for me, I try to make sure I'm not going to bed after eating a big meal. So one of the things I do, this would be under the time restriction thing, I try to not eat after 6 p.m. when I'm trying to lean out. And that's, number one, my sleep's going to be better. So I'm going to get higher quality sleep by not having a big meal right before going to bed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people ignore that.
Which is beneficial.
If you have a giant meal in your stomach and you're trying to go to bed within 2 hours of that meal, like, good luck. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to disturb your sleep.
Oh, exactly. So that's like kind of step one. Step two is I go with some restrictions. So, and it's not like I'm eliminating it completely, but I already mentioned like the chips. If you look at the nutrition label on a bag of Santitas tortilla chips, like I think it's like 1,600 calories in a bag.
That's pretty good.
And in 2 days, I'll at least can crush a bag of chips with salsa if I'm not paying attention to it. So like for me, I restrict. I go into a restriction mode and I make sure for big chunks of time, I'm not going to have chips. I actually I asked my wife when she's doing the shopping, we split it. But if she's shopping, I just ask her not to do. I'm the one that eats most of it. Like the kids and her don't care about chips in the house or those chips. So I'll just ask her not to get them. And it makes it super easy. And immediately I'm cutting 800 calories out per day.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Now, I will eat chips and salsa, like I already mentioned. If I go eat Mexican food, I'm going to eat chips and salsa. But I'm not eating it daily. So you can get away with things like that. And I see results doing things like that. And then I maintain my vegan diet year round. I mean, that's not something I fluctuate with because I'm an all in or all out person. And if I were to fall off, then I'd be eating all kinds of sweets and desserts and chocolatey stuff. And there's going to be a ton of more calories coming in that I'm going to have to deal with. So that's mine. So what do you kind of do?
So this time of year, actually, to be honest, this is the first holiday stretch in a while that I haven't put on weight. Part of that is because we didn't travel. We didn't go anywhere. So that helped a ton because I was still in my bubble and I could still do some training and stuff. I too cut training volume quite a bit from October to December, and then December it kind of picks back up. But the thing that I started doing this winter over others is, one, I got back in the gym and I'm lifting at least 3 days a week for an hour. And
that's a huge point. Yeah. Lean muscle mass.
I'll be honest. I say I didn't gain weight. I didn't lose weight either. I'm the same weight as I was at the end of the season, but I've leaned out on less training. Mm-hmm. So I'm lifting 3 days a week. The major change that I've made to my diet is I've cut carbs quite a bit and basically over doubled my protein intake. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that had to come from supplementation. So I'm taking like a big like protein shake in the morning, and then I might do another one in the afternoon after a workout or something like that. But I'm making a concerted effort to avoid sweets, alcohol as much as possible, and not eat as many carbs in my daily meals.
Yeah.
So cut carbs, even though I am still doing a decent amount of endurance exercise, increase protein intake quite a bit, and increase the amount of time I'm spending lifting heavy weights, not just doing movements and whatnot.
But you've moved up to what, the 10-pound dumbbells?
Yeah, I got those 10-pounders, man.
There we go, Dale.
Was that 2.5? Started at 2.5.
You got it, baby.
So those are the big changes that I've made recently, which, given the results I've got, I'll probably stick with throughout the season and just adjust my before, during, and right after training sessions intake. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, we could go really long if we start talking about the timing of different macronutrients. So your carb, fat, protein. Yep. We could go long there for sure. And there's different schools of thought in that whole thing. Experiment. See what works for you. I have had issues with some athletes who are trying to heavily restrict carbohydrates right now.
Doesn't work.
And they're trying to do high intensity efforts. So you can get away with doing low carb, but it's very tough to get the same quality on your high intensity stuff when doing so.
Yeah. So I will say, like, I've significantly cut carbs, but I also am not doing a ton of intensity.
Correct.
In training. It's mostly zone 2 stuff.
And then absolutely don't restrict before and during on your carbohydrates if you are someone who's trying to go low outside of that, because you're going to want some of that. Yeah. Again, that's general. Now there's times where is not the case. So this could get very long.
The depends rule.
It's very much a depends style rule.
So some of the other little things that you say you got some little rules, like things that work for me. I don't consume anything after 8 p.m. And then I try not to have.
What time do you go to bed?
I mean, I go to bed at like 8:30 or 9, or get in bed at 8:30 or 9. But we also eat at like 6. So I'm just saying.
So your last main meal.
All I'm just saying 6. Is if I do fall off the wagon and am hitting the Reese's. It's got to be like if I see 8 p.m. that stops me in my tracks for somehow, some way. Yeah. Like I'm like walking downstairs and I know where they're at in the laundry area, and luckily there's a clock right by it, and if I see 8 p.m. I'll turn around. If not, gangbusters.
Do you think you'd be successful if you changed it to 7 p.m.?
I don't know. That's so close to
Can
dinner
you draw
time.
that hard line? Like, I wonder.
That's so close
But
to dinner
those are
time.
little games you can play with yourself. Like, okay, if it's something you know would be better doing it one way versus the other,
Well, I also
draw
know,
that hard
like,
line.
I literally think to myself, okay, it's 8. I'm going to be in bed in 30 minutes, and every bit of this is going to get stored. Like, so,
It's not worth it.
sometimes the negative,
Yeah.
the negative thoughts will help. But that's one big thing. And then I won't eat breakfast. I'll drink coffee in the morning, but I won't eat breakfast. Haven't been eating breakfast till 8 p.m. or 8 a.m.
Whoa, Dale.
Yeah. I got my window.
Dale's got a 1 hour window.
Yeah. 8 a.m. So it's not intermittent fasting by any means. It's just, a lot of times because we do start so early with work, and even if I get a training session in the morning, I'll end up doing it fasted. Unless it's going to be high intensity.
Correct.
If I know it's going to be high intensity, I basically take a lot of times I can get through it if it's short, like an hour and 15, I can get through pretty high intensity fasted, no problem. But I will take just a bailout food with me, like, or have it by the trainer or the treadmill or whatever, or in my gym bag. I'll just have bailout food in case I start getting bonky or loopy, and I'll, throw it in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One thing I don't want us to gloss over, and not to get long here, but alcohol can be a big one. That's one thing I didn't mention.
Let's just go over the low-hanging fruit for everybody.
Yeah. Like for me, I have been known to enjoy my post-ride beverages. And
Same.
I'm also, like I said, all in or all out. But every Thanksgiving, I go cold turkey with alcohol consumption. No coincidence when I cut out chips and I cut out beer and alcohol, it seems as though fairly quickly the waistline starts returning to where it should be. So look at those areas that are, and I know a lot of endurance athletes enjoy training a lot, so they can eat more, which is fine if your body is needing it. So take all this and that with that mindset. Alcohol, very much empty calories. It's going to really impact sleep. So if you're really long-term have goals of becoming better, then factor that in. We're not here to, say don't drink alcohol. Like, if that's you, do it. But think about your long-term goals as well, and what purpose is it serving within that.
I mean, I think, obviously we're getting older, Bryant, and
Little gray. Yeah, my wife keeps pointing out my gray hair over here.
oh, I got a few of them.
Jeez.
We're getting older, and your priorities and goals and everything kind of shift a little bit as you get older. And for the longest time, if somebody wanted to go get a couple beers after a ride or a run, I'm in. Let's go.
Did you say beers or pitchers?
Yeah, well, that's it. However it shakes out. Yeah. I just did a long ride.
There you go.
But now, like, one of the things that reasons I didn't gain a bunch of weight over the holidays is because I really didn't drink that much at all. Yeah. And I've pretty much restricted myself to only consuming alcohol Friday night and Saturday, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And unless I'm in for the most part, unless I'm in a social environment, I really haven't been drinking much at all. So it does help. Seven calories per gram. They've named it the useless macronutrient.
Whoa. There you go. Fun fact.
Yeah. And obviously
it generally leads to a lot of, it interrupts your sleep. Like with these Oura rings, that's one of the biggest things I've noticed is my resting heart rate can go up 10 to 15 beats per minute if I've been drinking alcohol versus not. Yeah. Which is nuts. Body temperature up, breathing rate up, like all of it's up. It's crazy what alcohol can do.
So we've already thrown sweets under the bus, but and alcohol, other low-hanging fruit, any drink with sugar in it.
Oh, yeah.
Sugary drinks. Mm-hmm. Get rid of them. That's the easiest, low-hanging fruit, calories, like liquid calories,
And we're talking like your orange juices and your apple juices
Cokes,
and your
full gas Cokes and Monsters and
get the actual fruit in where you have all the fiber and stuff.
Yeah, I have a rule that I don't eat fructose without fiber.
There we go.
No fructose without fiber. It's interesting that this is a side tangent. That we apparently have an adaptation from when we were primates that our body is really good at storing fructose as fat.
Because you need it down the road.
Because you might need it. Mm-hmm. But as you introduce fiber into that equation, fiber helps take that glucose out of the blood and then utilize it a little bit more versus straight through to storage.
Yeah. All right. I know we could probably keep going on this, but for the sake of y'all's time, if there's stuff on this you'd like us to dive deeper into and kind of give our viewpoints on, let us know. If you liked us giving kind of our personal, like what we do for ourselves, if that's something you want to hear more of down the road, we're happy to kind of open the curtain. What do you say? Pull back the curtain?
Like the one last thing that I do want to touch on, and we talked about it a little bit in the beginning. It's the family dynamic, right? Like if you're like, we cover this stuff all the time with athletes, and the number one response I get is, "Man, that's going to be really hard with my family." I'm like, well, yeah, I told you this was going to be uncomfortable. Like this is going to be hard and uncomfortable, and it's not going to mesh well with a lot of the things that your friends and family are doing. But look at this long term. I mean, brass tacks, this is like about your health and your well-being and your lifespan and your health span and stuff like that. Like if your family is not on board with you and them eating healthier in order for you all to live longer and better, healthier lives, that's a conversation that needs to be had. Like it's better to get it over with and let it unfold than everyone fight to so that your kids can eat garbage and your significant other can eat garbage and you can sit there eating your salad.
Yeah.
Like everyone has to be on board.
And small steps there too. Like consider those wins as well. Like don't expect to go to them and change what they're doing just because you want to. But if you maybe approach it with like, what's one small thing we can do each meal, or what can we do at dinner? Like, let's make sure we have a healthy option.
We're doing like the meatless Mondays, or like the, like in our household, like there's veggies every meal. And a lot of times we will have a big salad with every meal and we eat that prior to eating anything else. But everyone has to be on board. And like Brian said, you got to make small changes. Like, don't go, kick in the door and be like, we're not eating junk anymore ever. Your kids will probably
teach them a healthy relationship with food too, right? It's like the same thing. Teaching them a healthy relationship with it and letting them know that the most convenient thing is not necessarily the best thing for them.
It's, getting out of the comforts of the excess we have available to us is hard.
It definitely is. One thing, and this is how I'm going to end it on my side, Dale, you may have more to say, but one thing I tried to think about, or I started thinking about it more recently, is when you first start training, if you come from doing nothing and someone first starts training, doing a little bit is a big challenge. There's soreness. There's a lot of fatigue that happens from that. It's very easy for people to do the exercise the first time, feel that soreness and go, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it, and stop. I feel like the same thing is true for your nutrition, that the more you're able to kind of toughen and strengthen your brain around resistance, not eating things, the easier it becomes as well. So don't expect yourself to be like a master of it and have all this self-control and discipline, and same with workouts. But the more you can routinely have those small wins, the more endurance you're going to gain from being able to withstand stuff like that. So kind of think of it more like from a physical standpoint, a lot of stuff with nutrition is mental. You know, it's you making good decisions. It's you having self-control. It's you having discipline. That I feel like you can strengthen just like you do with training. Like for us, doing a 3-hour ride is easy. You talk to someone who doesn't ride a bike and they're like, 30 minutes seems nuts. So don't be super hard on yourself and pay attention to trends more than what you see on, if you're someone who likes to weigh, some people don't, we're good either way. But in training and in your weight loss journey, if that's what you're on, pay attention to trends. Don't get all of your value on the success of the day prior based on what the scale says the next morning. Because there's a lot of stuff that impacts what your number is going to be on a scale. And ultimately, that's not going to define you either. If you just stay the course and get small wins, you're going to trend in a good direction. So just take it day by day.
Yeah, I mean, 16, 17 years ago, I was eating fast food multiple times a week. I mean, restricting basically nothing, drinking
everything
5-6 days a week. I don't know. I had the knowledge still. I had the knowledge. Mm-hmm. I just didn't want to do it because there's so many easy options out there to consume and overconsume. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it takes a while. This it's a journey, and
you're worth the effort though is the big thing. Like your long-term health and fitness and everything is worth the effort. So don't be hard on yourselves and just chalk up those small wins. Recognize them.
Bingo. All right. Well, we're going to leave it at that so we can go eat unlimited chips and salsa. We appreciate everyone hanging out,
but listening. I'm not eating dinner.
Well, probably won't. Listening, watching. We'll catch you guys next time. Adios.
Peace.